Hello everybody, today I'm going to be teaching you how to make some basic gaming edits. So the first thing I'll start talking about is transitions. For transitions you have a couple of different options. You can go with the default Sony Vegas transitions, which will work okay, but I prefer something that looks a little bit cleaner. What I'm using is a pretty simple transition pack by Aeon, which I will leave a download link to in the description if you want to check it out. So I have this Counter-Strike clip here, and the first thing you're going to want to do is find where you're going to want to put your transition. So I'm going to cut out the first bit of this video here. So let's say I don't want this whole section of me here walking. So we'll just go ahead and cut that out to the point where it starts to get to the action, which is right about here, I believe. We'll just do right when I start to go into this doorway. And we'll cut this whole area out. So if we just leave it like that, the transition looks a little bit unprofessional. So I'll show you how to add a pretty simple transition with a transition pack. This is how it works with my transition pack, but pretty much anyone you download is going to be the same process. So yeah, I'll show you how that works. So you want to go down here and take about 10 frames, which you can see how many frames you're using right down in the corner right here. So we have 14 frames. I usually use anywhere between 8 and 10 depending on how long I want the transition to be. We'll go ahead and do 8 for this one since it's not really anything special. And you'll want to right click and click the split button, which is right here. And you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side of the clip as well. Alright, so after that, you'll click the FX button, and then you'll see all your transitions here that you have installed, and then we'll just go ahead and pick one. So I'll go ahead and use the slide down A one. So click Add, and then click OK. And do the same thing for the other one, except we're going to use the slide left B one. Okay. So now that we have that, we'll go ahead and see how that looks. Contact. So that definitely looks a lot better than just having a simple cut with no transitions. So since we're going to be adding music to this, it's up to you if you want to keep your game audio in. I'm going to go ahead and delete it for this. So one thing I recommend doing if you're going to keep your game audio in is to turn your game audio down using the gain button right here, so it's lower than your music, because you don't want your game audio to overpower the music. So we'll go ahead and press Control U on our keyboard, and that will separate the audio from the video track, and then you can just go ahead and click Delete, and it should delete it. So the next step is going to be finding a song. I'm going to be using this one right here. Alright, and I didn't download this in MP3 format, but you can also do that, and you should just have the audio track. But if you do download the MP4 version, just go ahead and split it and delete the video track. So now that we have the audio track in here, you have a couple options. You could just leave it in just like this and just have your music, you know, but it doesn't really sync up to the gameplay and it doesn't look all that great. So what I like to do is sync up the bass drops or the more exciting parts of the song to the kills in your game. So I'll show you how to do that right now. So right here is where the song starts to go off. So you'll want to take this part and find where your best kill is in your gameplay. Alright, so I'm going to put one more cut in right here, because there's really not a lot of action that happens right here up until the end where I get flashed. So we have that kill right there, and then there's not a lot of action that happens after that, so we'll do another split, start it like right here, and find the next kill. Okay, so right about here is the next kill. Pretty boring section of gameplay right here, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of all that. And then we'll want to add another transition right here. So we got our next transition in here. Vegas will love it. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, so right here is where we get the next kill. So I'm thinking like right here would be a good spot to sync it up. So we can take this, and I'm actually going to get rid of this transition. And we're going to want this split right here to be right here where the music starts to get interesting. So we'll take the start of this video, trim it back a decent amount, and bring it back to right here. So then we'll have something that looks like this. So then the music syncs up with the kill, and that's what you're going to want on a section like this. So like I said, we got rid of that transition right there, so we'll go ahead and fix that. Add another transition. I think we used right corner slide here, if I remember right. So this part's optional, but you can do it if you want. You can add a transition where the music drops, so we'll go ahead and do that real quick. So I don't like to do anything too fancy for these, so we'll just do something simple like a screen pump. Okay, so then you'll find that next kill, which is right here. So I think I'm going to leave this whole section in here because the next kill happens pretty quickly. And then that's the end of the round right there. So I think we'll cut the video off right about here. We can just get rid of this. Get rid of this. Okay, so then we're just left with something simple like this. Oh, my computer's being so annoying today. Alright, and that looks pretty decent so far. So we could add a few more transitions right here, but I feel like we have a pretty decent amount already. So we'll do one other thing real quick. So this plugin pack is a different one from the one I showed you earlier, and this one is actually a paid plugin pack, so it's a little bit expensive. It's about $20 a month, but I think it's worth it for all the plugins that you get. You get a lot of different options, and you can do a lot of different stuff. And these are just the video effects. They also offer transitions. So yeah, I'll show you what we'll be doing for this. So we'll find the kill that we want to edit right here, and we'll split that. So you'll hold Control and then drag it up to copy the video track onto the next layer. And there's two video effects we're going to add to this. So the first one is Ecto. Add that in right there. So this one just sort of makes the gameplay look a little bit wavy. And you can choose the intensity of this and everything. There's a lot of different options here, so you can play around with it and see how you want it to look. So we'll go right about there and see how that looks. Might be a little bit too intense, I'll drag that back a bit. Alright, that looks good, I think. Alright, so once we got that done, we're going to add one more called uni.blur. And we'll add that to right here, and that's going to get rid of the bluish color, which I'm not a huge fan of. And we'll just add a little bit of a blur to that. Nothing too crazy, but just want it to look a little bit affected. Okay, so we are going to have this fade in all the way and fade out all the way. Make sure they're about equal lengths. And you'll end up with something like this. So I kind of like that transition because it's nothing too intense like the other ones, but it still just does give you a little bit of effect. So the next thing I'll show you how to do is edit the sound a little bit. So what I like to do is find a spot where the music kind of goes dead a little bit. So right here, we'll go from right here to right here. Right, and then we'll split that. Okay, so once you have this split, you can go to Effects and click Amplitude Modulation and go ahead and add that and click OK. So you're going to click this Wet Out slider right here, and drag that all the way to the top. And this Amplitude slider right here, you're going to want to drag that down to where it's at about 30. And then these three boxes right here on the left, Blend Graph Edges, Low Pass Start, and Tempo Sync, you're going to want to click all three of those. And then you can just go ahead and X that out, and we'll see how that sounds. Alright, I like how that sounds. So the next thing we're going to do is just add a bit of a fade in right here, so that way it's not so abrupt. We'll put that at about 24 seconds, see how that sounds, and we'll do the same thing over here. Drag this in here. 24 seconds. Okay. So we'll see how that sounds. Alright, that sounds pretty good. And then lastly, we'll just go ahead and add a little bit of a fade out. Do about a second and a half. Sounds about good. See how that looks. Alright, so that's about it for this. I think we have just about everything we need. So we'll go ahead and render the video, and I'll show you what the final product looks like. So this was a pretty basic edit, and I only used a few transitions. If I was going to upload something like this, I might use something a little bit more, and I might take a little bit more time on it. But this is just a tutorial, and I just wanted to show how everything works. So you should have all the tools you need now to create a basic video game edit, and I hope you enjoyed.